Welcome to the Economist in Your Ear podcast. When you look at a toy shelf today, do you see tools for limitless imagination? Or just a 3D catalog for Hollywood and video game franchises? Yeah, we are unpacking a really fascinating article today titled Lego, Pokemon, and the Future of Fun. We are going to look at this massive industry-wide shift away from generic, open-ended toys and toward, well, licensed mega brands.
Right, the big IPs.
Exactly. And our goal here is to analyze the brilliant but also highly risky business strategies driving this transformation and to critically examine the real cost of these corporate cross-promotions on the future of how we play.
It really is a profound shift. We're not just talking about what kids do on a Saturday morning anymore. We are looking at how global culture is manufactured, monetized,
Sure.
and physically packaged.
Totally.
And the catalyst that really perfectly captures this new reality happened just recently on June 2nd, 2026. Lego executives stepped onto a stage to announce their newest product line, but they literally had to speak over this bizarre, almost deafening ambient noise.
Right, the room was just vibrating with chirping and croaking and simulated snoring.
Yes.
It sounded way less like a corporate press conference and more like some sort of digital rainforest.
Which, was entirely by design. They were officially unveiling the Lego and Pokemon collaboration. But the thing is, these aren't the inert plastic bricks you might remember from your childhood.
No, they're not.
Lego has actually embedded microchips into these new sets. So the brick-built creatures are engineered to physically interact. They train, they battle, and they even chat with one another when you place them side by side.
It is a staggering technological leap for a toy. And, the timing is no coincidence considering Pokemon is turning 30 in 2026.
It's a huge anniversary.
But looking at these microchipped communicating bricks, it really strikes me that we are witnessing a fundamental change in what a toy actually is. It feels like toys have basically become hardware for software we have already bought.
Oh, that is a remarkably accurate way to frame it.
You invest hundreds of hours into the Pokemon video game, you buy the movie tickets, you stream the anime, and now you're purchasing the physical peripheral just to sit on your shelf. It's like the final stage of an entertainment ecosystem.
Yeah, the physical toy is essentially the ultimate monetization of a digital or cinematic experience.
Huh?
And to really grasp the scale of this, we have to look at the revenue.
Hit me with the numbers.
Well, according to data from the research firm Circana, licensed intellectual property, or IP, now accounts for more than half of Lego's $13 billion annual revenue.
Wow. Over half of a $13 billion pie is just someone else's intellectual property.
Exactly.
When you think about the history of Lego, a company that was basically built on the concept of a blank slate, that statistic is almost melancholic.
It really is.
I just think about those generic Lego spacemen from the 1980s with the little cracked helmets or the nameless pirates and castle guards. They are just being systemically squeezed off the production line by Super Mario, Harry Potter, and Pikachu.
Yeah, the generic stuff is disappearing.
It makes you wonder if we're actively losing the blank canvas of childhood imagination in favor of scripted corporate narratives.
To understand that loss, though, we have to recognize that this wasn't some overnight takeover. While the Pokemon announcement is the loudest recent example, this has been a very slow, deliberate march that really started back in 1999.
With the first Star Wars sets.
Exactly, with Lego's first Star Wars collaboration. At the time, Lego was facing a literal existential financial crisis, and that Star Wars deal was the proof of concept that licensing could save the company.
Right.
And if we broaden the lens and look at Frederic Tutt's data from Circana, this strategy has essentially consumed the entire global toy industry. In just 7 years, the share of global toy sales based on licensed IP rose from 25% to 37%.
That's a massive jump. So if over a third of the entire global shelf space is now basically outsourced imagination, what is the financial incentive powerful enough to make these companies abandon their own original creations?
It comes down to the numbers.
Because transitioning from what is happening on the shelves to why they're doing it, it reveals a business reality that is almost impossible to resist. It's really about the reliable economics of fandoms, and specifically, the spending power of adults.
Right, because tapping into a ready-made fan base fundamentally alters the risk profile for a toy manufacturer.
How so?
Well, consider the traditional model. If Lego invents a brand new line of, say, futuristic underwater explorers, they have to fund the design, write the lore, and then spend tens of millions of dollars on marketing just to convince the world to actually care about those new characters.
It's a huge gamble.
It's a massive financial gamble. But if they capitalize on a new Jurassic World movie or Pokemon's 30th anniversary, well, Universal Studios, or Nintendo, has already spent hundreds of millions of dollars doing the cultural heavy lifting.
Oh, that makes sense.
The emotional connection for the consumer is already installed before the box ever hits the shelf.
So the R&D and the world building are just completely outsourced.
Exactly.
And that pre-installed emotional connection is what fuels the rise of the kidult buyer. This is such a crucial demographic shift. Like, an adult walking down the toy aisle might completely ignore a beautifully designed, structurally complex, but entirely generic medieval toy castle.
Because it holds no nostalgic value for them.
Right. But if a company slaps a Lord of the Rings logo on it and explicitly models it as a replica of Rivendell, that same adult will drop $650 without a second thought.
Yeah.
It just ceases to be a toy at that point and becomes a premium collectible.
And pivoting to capture that adult pop culture demographic has been utterly transformative for their bottom line. By embracing this strategy, LEGO's revenue has nearly doubled since 2020.
Doubled? That's wild.
They're now over twice the size of Mattel, which is their nearest rival. And there's a company called Funko, the ones who manufacture those vinyl pop culture figures with the oversized head.
Oh yeah, they're everywhere.
Well, their corporate slogan really serves as the thesis statement for this entire era of the industry. It's literally, everyone is a fan of something.
That is a brilliant all-encompassing strategy. If everyone is a fan of something, your potential market is literally anyone with a disposable income and a pop culture affinity.
And this isn't just a Western phenomenon either. The shift toward IP-driven collectibles perfectly mirrors what is happening globally. Like in China, there is a booming market for IP merchandise and blind boxes.
Oh, like Pop Mart.
Exactly. Pioneered by companies like Pop Mart. It's part of the wider goozy economy, goozy, being derived from the English word goods. The monetization mechanics there are fascinating because they combine deep IP loyalty with the psychological thrill of a blind box gamble.
Right. You don't know which character you're going to get.
Yeah, you are buying physical manifestations of digital IP to essentially signal your identity to the world.
I understand the appeal of identity signaling, I really do. But let's pause and look at the actual economics for you, the listener, the consumer, because this is where the model gets a bit frustrating.
Oh, for sure.
If these toy companies are outsourcing their world building, their character design, and their marketing to Hollywood film studios and Japanese video game developers, why are retail prices skyrocketing?
Are we essentially just paying an adult tax on our own nostalgia?
Basically.
Because if LEGO isn't paying for the marketing of Jurassic World, that savings certainly isn't being passed down to the buyer.
No, you are absolutely paying a premium, but it's not just arbitrary price gouging on LEGO's part. When a toy company licenses an IP, they're entering into a revenue-sharing agreement.
And those fees aren't cheap.
The licensing fees can be exorbitant. They often take a significant double-digit percentage of the wholesale price right off the top. So to maintain their own profit margins, the toy company has to aggressively raise the retail price.
Wow.
So that adult tax you feel, it's the direct cost of the royalty fee being passed from the licensor through the manufacturer and right onto your credit card. Okay, that makes mathematical sense. But the article seems to let LEGO off the hook a bit by framing this strategy as being incredibly agile. The implication is that by relying on IP, a company can just effortlessly hop from a Batman trend to a Harry Potter trend to a Pokemon trend.
Right.
I have to strongly push back on that idea because calling an injection-molded plastic manufacturer agile in today's media landscape is a massive illusion.
Well, I would argue there is a degree of agility in their portfolio approach.
Yeah.
Because they have established relationships with multiple massive studios, if one movie franchise underperforms at the box office, they have 3 others hitting shelves the same quarter to balance the ledger. They are hedging their bets across the entire pop culture spectrum.
Okay, they might be hedging their bets financially, but operationally, they are painfully slow. I mean, think about how fast culture moves today. Trying to catch a viral internet meme with a physical manufacturing supply chain is like trying to catch a speeding bullet with a slow-moving freight train.
That's a fair point.
The article mentions the specific tie-in for K-pop Demon Hunters. That was a massive, surprise blockbuster film that dominated the cultural conversation last summer. Everyone was talking about it.
Yeah, it was everywhere.
But because of the realities of physical production, the LEGO sets for that movie aren't arriving until late this year. By the time the plastic hits the shelves, the cultural moment has completely evaporated.
That is a very real operational vulnerability, absolutely. And it highlights the massive hidden costs and the logistical friction of these partnerships. It is never as simple as just slapping a movie logo on a standard box of bricks.
Right, there's approval processes and all that.
The collaboration process is painstakingly exhaustive. For the new Pokemon line, Pokemon's creative staff were making weekly trips from Japan all the way to LEGO's headquarters in Billund, Denmark.
Weekly trips. That speaks to an unbelievable level of corporate micromanagement. Two massive cultural juggernauts clashing in a boardroom every single week over the aesthetics of a plastic toy.
Yeah, because the level of granular specificity required by the IP holders is immense. The brands are fiercely protective of their characters. LEGO couldn't just use their existing inventory of parts either. They had to invent 25 entirely new types of bricks just to get the exact curve of Pikachu's arms and the specific recognizable shape of Jigglypuff's ears right.
25 new bricks. And we really need to clarify what inventing a new brick actually entails, because it's not just a designer sketching a new shape on an iPad.
Not at all.
In the world of injection molding, a new brick means machining solid steel dies with micrometer precision. The new piece has to have the exact same clutch power, which is the physical friction that holds the pieces together, as a standard brick manufactured in 1985.
Right. The backward compatibility is essential for this.
Exactly. Engineering and milling those steel molds takes months of testing and hundreds of thousands of dollars per mold. Multiply that by 25, just for a few character details. The upfront cost is astronomical.
It is, and Julia Golden, who is LEGO's marketing and product chief, openly acknowledges this tension between the speed of culture and the speed of manufacturing. She notes that social media makes it easier than ever to identify emerging trends.
Sure, you just open TikTok.
Exactly. You open TikTok and see exactly what is capturing the public's attention today. But predicting which of those fleeting trends will actually endure for the 18 months it takes to design, engineer, safety test, manufacture, and globally distribute a physical plastic brick. That is an incredibly difficult forecasting challenge.
18 months is an absolute eternity in the attention economy. It is a massive strategic disadvantage when you look at the wider toy market. Like, a company making plush toys can identify a trend, print a fabric pattern, cut, sew, and ship a product in a matter of weeks.
Yeah, or trading card companies, they can pivot their printing presses almost instantly.
Right. But LEGO is locked into this year-and-a-half-long freight train of steel molds and global logistics.
Which brings us to the core contradiction of this entire industry shift. If relying on Hollywood and video games is slow, logistically agonizing, and requires you to sacrifice a huge portion of your profit margin to licensing fees, why not just focus on building original ideas?
Right.
LEGO has the infrastructure, the designers, and the global reach to invent anything they want.
And they still do. Which introduces the most fascinating anomaly in this entire discussion, and that's the Botanicals collection.
Oh, I love the botanical.
It's so interesting. This is LEGO's in-house range of floral arrangements, fake orchids, succulents, and bouquets made entirely of plastic bricks. It is aimed squarely at adults, marketed almost as home decor or like a mindfulness exercise. It has absolutely no movie tie-in, no video game lore, and no external IP. And according to the article, it is projected to be their best-selling line this year.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
The massive success of the Botanicals proves conclusively that a toy company can still create highly successful, deeply profitable original concepts. There is clearly a market of adults who want the tactile, relaxing experience of building something beautiful without needing it to be attached to a cinematic universe.
Right. But the paradox emerges when you contrast the success of those original flowers with what happens when LEGO actively solicits original ideas from their own audience.
Oh, the LEGO Ideas platform.
Yes. They run this very popular community forum called LEGO Ideas, where fans can submit their own designs. If a design gets enough votes from the community, LEGO will officially review it and potentially manufacture it.
It's an incredible initiative, really. They are literally handing the consumer the keys to the kingdom and offering to physically manifest whatever the community desires. It's the ultimate blank canvas for collective imagination.
And what do we, the consumers, do with that limitless power? When given the opportunity to design literally anything in the universe, the community overwhelmingly uses that platform to ask for a Happy Days diner, or a Scooby-Doo haunted house, or a replica of the sitcom set from The Office.
Yeah, it forces a really uncomfortable look in the mirror for the consumer base, doesn't it?
It really does.
We routinely lament the lack of originality in corporate products, But when given democratic control over the means of production, we immediately demand more of the heavily scripted media we already consume. We claim to value originality, but our wallets and our votes clearly prioritize the comfort of the familiar.
The irony is inescapable.
Yeah.
We want to physically hold the things we watch on our screens, but it raises a serious question about the future of fun, as the article puts it. What does this contradiction mean for the trajectory of how we play?
Well, the data and consumer behavior suggests we are heading toward a bifurcating future in physical play.
Okay, how so?
On one side of the spectrum, you're going to see a rise in highly original, highly aesthetic, almost architectural display pieces, like the botanicals. These will be marketed entirely to adults as design objects or stress relief tools. They aren't meant to be played with in the traditional sense. You build them once and put them on a coffee table.
Right. And on the other side?
On the other side, the actual kits designed for interactive play. The toys that kids and kidults are actually building, dismantling, and engaging with will be almost entirely dominated by licensed, media-driven kits. The days of a major toy company launching a massive original universe from scratch are becoming increasingly rare because the financial incentive structure just doesn't support the risk anymore.
Which fundamentally changes the cognitive process of play. I mean, think about it. When you poured a bucket of generic blocks onto the floor, you had to invent the narrative. You had to decide who the villain was, you had to invent the conflict, and you had to resolve the story.
Yeah, the world was yours.
The entire universe existed solely in your head. But now, the microchip inside the toy physically chirps the character's trademark catchphrase at you. The instruction manual tells you exactly how the scene is supposed to look, and the movie dictates how the story ends. You are no longer the author of your own imagination. You are just the assembly worker for someone else's script.
It really represents a broader cultural shift from active imagination to passive recreation. The toys are undeniably more sophisticated, more detailed, and more technologically advanced than ever before. But that sophistication comes at the cost of the blank slate.
Yeah, and as we wrap up this look into the changing landscape of our toy shelves, I want to leave you with a final thought to really mull over. If our physical play, the very toys we hold in our hands, is increasingly dictated by the media we watch on our screens, well, where does original, unprompted imagination even fit into the human experience anymore? Will the generic, smiling spaceman of the future just be a blank, featureless avatar sitting quietly on a shelf, patiently waiting for a corporate sponsor to assign it a personality?
Given the massive structural shifts in the industry from 1999 to today, and the sheer economic power of modern fandoms, that might not just be a philosophical question, it might be the actual blueprint for the future of play.
Thanks for listening. Follow us for daily insights into world affairs, and don't forget to like, comment, and share.